Hi, I'm Amanda Jane, and welcome to the Communicate with Confidence podcast. My aim is to take the fear out of communicating and make it easy and fun. On this podcast, I'm going to be talking about everything to do with good communication, how we can connect with our audience, get better at speaking and giving presentations, increase visibility, and ultimately get more sales. I'll also be talking to some incredible people about their business, and I'll be getting their insights on how they view communication and how comfortable they are showing up in person and on social media. So let's get started. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Communicate with Confidence podcast. I'm your host Amanda Jane, and today I have with me Laura Parker from Shoreway Business Support. Hi Laura.
Hi Amanda, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. So before we get stuck in, we're going to begin with the three legendary questions now. So do you have a favorite motivational song?
I do. So it's funny. So when I first saw this question, I was thinking about motivational as in kind of when I need to do deep work. And so I was going to say to you, well, I listen to kind of focus music. But then I thought, actually, what really motivates me, and my song is Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis.
Oh, I love that song.
So, yeah, it really, there's something about it. I find it really uplifts me and gives me energy, and I always listen to it before I need to do something. So if I'm giving a workshop or something, I'll always put that song on. So yeah, that's my one.
And it's timeless, isn't it?
It is so timeless. It is. You're right. It is, but it takes you back.
Yeah.
I listen to it and I feel like it's 1996 or 97
Yeah.
again.
Oh,
Yeah,
fabulous choice. I love that.
something
And
like that.
and that will definitely go on the list when I will get to it, I promise. And what about a motivational quote?
Okay, so the quote is, and you might know this one, so it's by Marianne Williamson. And it's quite a long quote, but essentially it's our greatest fear. So the kind of the premise of it is, and I'd recommend you Google it. So if you Google Marianne Williamson, Our Greatest Fear, then you'll be able to read it. But it's essentially that our greatest fear isn't that we're not capable. Actually, our greatest fear is that we are capable and that we're kind of holding ourselves back. It's a really, really good one for, those days when you have a bit of imposter syndrome or you kind of don't have much self-belief. It's a really good one to help you realize that the power is all within you. It's brilliant. It's a really good one.
I love that. That sounds absolutely. I will definitely Google
Yeah,
that one.
Google it and let me know.
And I love that because that's one of those things that sort of shakes you out of your imposter syndrome
Yeah,
or whatever it is,
this one
because
is.
we can always
Yeah,
make excuses and think, oh, I can't do it because, and that sounds like a perfect one to shake you out of
yeah.
it. Fabulous. And what about a book? And that doesn't have to be motivational. I'm just curious about what people read.
Yeah, so I am a huge bookworm. I love reading, but I don't read novels more than once, really. So I was thinking, what book have I read multiple times? And it is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. So it is kind of a self-development book, but it's a really good one because it's all about recognizing when you. It's about the fact that we kind of give ourselves these glass ceilings and we hold ourselves back often. So it's all about how to kind of move beyond that into your next phase of your self-leadership, I guess.
Mhm.
And I've read it maybe 3 or 4 times since I've started my business in 2018.
Wow.
So it's the only business book that I've read multiple times. So I thought that was a good one to choose.
That is amazing. That's another
Have
one
you
for
read
my
it?
list.
Oh,
Got
you
so
need to read this one.
many.
It's really good. It's really old school.
Uh-huh.
It's not kind of trendy. It's not like an Instagram person. I mean, I think he must be about 60 or 70 now, but it's so good. For me, it is. It really resonates with me.
And again, those are the things that are timeless. That kind
Yeah,
of advice just never changes. It's solid,
yeah,
isn't it? And
yeah,
it
yeah,
travels
exactly.
across time. That is
Yeah,
absolutely going on my list. And I love it
good.
when people sort of say something that's helped them in the career or that they constantly refer to. And my curiosity gets the better of me. So that will be on my list.
I'm
And
looking
the
through
next one.
that. Yeah,
Thank
let me know
you.
when you've read
I
it.
will do. Superb. So, on to your leadership journey. So, can you share your journey and some key milestones that have shaped your career and how you ended up where you are today?
Okay, so basically, I sort of think about my leadership journey as maybe sort of different sliding door moments. When you kind of could have chosen something, but you chose something else, and it all kind of, it always ends up leading you to exactly where you're supposed to be, which is where you are now, isn't it? So maybe kind of one of my first things was that I deferred university. So I was supposed to go to university to study PR, and I deferred for a year. And I ended up getting a job and getting a car, and sort of realizing that I had a job in marketing and I really loved it. And I ended up not going to university. So that was kind of one of my first decisions. And then I would say that it's more been about kind of learning from things. So sort of learning from the good experiences and the bad experiences, and sort of seeing how I've needed to evolve to become a better leader. So, for example, when I think back to the first time I interviewed someone, it was awful. I did a terrible job. It was, it was awful. Just even think about it, I cringe. It was so bad. But it was really good because it taught me that, it taught me to be more prepared. It taught me to have confidence, all of those things. And then, I think about great things that I've done in my career and, how that's bolstered confidence. So yeah, I see it almost as like the self-leadership journey, because then that's got me to where I am now, having my business. Like all these, it's almost like it's building blocks that's helped us be where we are now and making the choices we're making now. And yeah.
How else would you have learned had you not had those experiences, if you hadn't done it wrong? And
exactly.
It's not something that someone can teach you. You can read it in a book and they give you step by step, but until you've gone through it and you think you've got to learn your own style. And having done that interview, and I'm curious to know if there's anyone famous.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry. When I said interview, sorry, I meant like as in interviewing for a member of the team.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see.
I was doing a job interviews for someone to come and work in my team, and I was just so bad. It was terrible.
Well, even that, you're developing your style, and
exactly.
that will only develop over time, and you just can't suddenly be good at that particular thing, and it sounds a bit of a cliche. It is a journey, and you mold yourself, as you just said, self-leadership. You're molding yourself as time goes by, and I love the fact that you've picked up on that in the sliding doors moment, and you end up precisely where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, totally. And I think you're saying that, I think that's a really good point, because I think with anything with leadership, both, in corporate world and, whether you've got your own business, I think whenever you're trying to be someone else, it never works, does it? So it's whenever you like you said about being molded, I think you have to find your style and really embrace it in order to be successful, because it just doesn't quite work otherwise.
It is very apparent when you're not being authentic, and that's a word I use a lot. And I think it takes some time to kind of be comfortable in your own skin. And so many influences out there that are at odds with that. But to me, that's the key to everything, just being comfortable and find your own authenticity. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So within that, then, that molding of you, did you have any inspiration or role models that you looked up to?
I've been lucky enough to have some, fantastic managers and bosses during my life, and who've then helped mold me. And I think for me anyway, it's been about being a bit of a magpie and sort of taking aspects of their style and sort of seeing how it's brought the best out in me, and then realizing that that's something that I want to then carry across in my own leadership style. So, because being a great leader, it's like this very fine balance, isn't it, between being able to delegate and being able to trust, but also being able to kind of direct and share the vision and get people on board. It's a sort of a magical mix, isn't it? So yes, it's definitely something I would say there's been a couple of line managers and bosses in my life who've really inspired me, because maybe they've been more hands off, and I really appreciate that. So with my team now, I'm very hands off as well. So that's something that I've learned, and that gets the best out of people.
Is that the team in your own business now? So that's a different scenario, isn't it? When it's
exactly.
It's not a corporate world, it's your own business.
Yes, exactly.
So how does that compare then to sort of leaving someone else's? Because we had an interesting conversation on the last podcast where my guest completely changed her view on working for corporate, and then it was her own business. How have you found that transition?
Well, I've absolutely loved it, and I wish I did it sooner. So I love it, and I love the I love the freedom that I have now, because everything I get to shape. Think about self-leadership. I get to shape everything to be exactly how I want it to be. Rather than like, we're under so many constraints, aren't we, when we're in a corporate world? So yeah, I mean, I've found that. And then in terms of working with people, obviously the people I work with are virtual, and I just think that at first I thought that was going to be hard, but it's just things have evolved, haven't they? And with Zoom and with Slack and various other ways that you can communicate as a team, it doesn't feel that different. So yeah, no, I love it.
It's as if the world got a little bit smaller and things are so much more accessible, and clients and even this podcast, for example, I've had guests from all over the world, and I just think, wow, this is incredible, the technology that we have at our fingertips, and it's nice to be able to tap into that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And to have it in your own business as well. So you mentioned Slack and things there. So how important do you think communication is in leadership? And can you think of any examples where it may have gone wrong or right?
Well, obviously for me, I think communication is key, isn't it? Because the times it always goes wrong, both in any situation, is when we're not sharing our message very well. And definitely, if you go back to the very first thing I talked about, when I gave that first interview to a team member, I think part of the problem there was a lack of confidence and a lack of clarity in sort of being who you are. So yeah, definitely for me, it's all about the communication. It's about being clear, and I think that any time it goes wrong is when it's expectations, isn't it? So I think that a lot of the time, especially when people are delegating, and a lot of the clients I work with are, so a lot of my clients are online business owners, and they have small teams, and what I do is I come in and I help them delegate and run their team more effectively and more efficiently. And one of the biggest problems that they're finding is just it's hard to delegate and it's hard to trust. So it's all about making sure that as a leader, you feel like you can trust the team, so that you're then able to delegate to them, and then that will then help. The communication is key, basically.
Yeah, so before we started recording, I was looking at my notes, and aligned planning and effortless execution. And I love that. I just thought that is just the absolute goal. I'm working smarter, not harder.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. And it's even things like having a team meeting. Maybe it's having a team meeting, even if you're a virtual business, or, every Monday checking in with your team and checking that you're all working towards a common goal.
Yeah.
So it's all of these communication touch points, isn't it? That help with the
And
business.
sharing the values that you have for your business, and making sure that that is commonly known amongst the people that are working for you as well. And it just fascinates me, the small businesses and how they function, but because you physically don't need to be working together. And I believe that you can still work with this model and still maintain those values regardless of where you're situated, and you don't even have to be in the same time zone. So it's endlessly fascinating to me how people manage this and manage it successfully. So what about your audience then, and social media, things like that? So how comfortable are you with your audience, and are you happy speaking in public and being visible on social media?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that, it's definitely something that you're sort of learning all the time. But I think for me, it's knowing that, the social media is integral if you're running your own business, isn't it? So it's about realizing that it's a necessity in these days. It's just
So
not possible.
what kind of things are you comfortable doing? Are you one of these people that, to get attention, do you do the sort of the dancing, pulling all the reels, or are you a little bit more sensible? I like to experiment. I haven't done dancing. I'm really not going to do it dancing.
No. I think, do you know what? I think that's a really, really good point, because I think that, and it goes back to what we were saying about sort of knowing yourself, isn't it? And the authenticity, because that is just not me at all. So I think if I was to do that, then I would probably, it just wouldn't come across as being authentic, isn't it? So no, I'm much more just a written post person than dancing on reels.
This.
But then you see some other people and they're doing it, and they are absolutely bossing it. They look beautiful and they're loving it, and I'm a bit envious of them. I wish that I would want to do that, but no.
Well, I always think I might dance if I had something to dance for. So if you can imagine
Yeah,
a huge celebration or something. So that's
yeah,
something in my
yeah,
head. And I thought, well, if I landed that client or if I did that, yeah, maybe I
yeah.
might dance. And I was listening to a podcast a couple of months ago, and the lady started off with, "Well, hello, my name's Jane, and welcome to my Nah, that's not me. And it's just brilliant, this
Oh, I love
introduction to
that.
this
I love
podcast.
that.
And
I love
and
that.
I just thought she's just been absolutely authentic. And
Yeah,
and what made me laugh about social media, the people that are dancing, I'm actually watching them. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? It's not
yeah, exactly.
so,
Yeah, and yes, I love it. I love seeing it, but it's just, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. It's just finding what works for you, isn't it? And I guess if yeah.
Exactly. And I do like, interesting, engaging content and people going
Mm.
live and all these videos. But I just kind of wonder what situation would get me to that stage. So if you ever see me dancing, it's
I'll be
because I've made my
celebrating with
first
you.
million.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
And it will be everywhere. Definitely. So we'll have to make that our pact. We will
Yeah,
dance
okay, I'll do it with
together.
you as well. We'll do it together.
Yeah. So, what legacy then do you hope to leave as a leader, and how do you measure the impact of your leadership?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question.
It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Oh, okay. So legacy as a leader. So I think for me, how you measure it, I would say, I mean, I've only got a very small team, but I think it would be around my team retention and how things work together. So that's how I measure the success. And luckily, I've got an assistant that I've been working with for a while, and it's great. So I'm kind of measuring that as a tick. And then the legacy, I guess, is just so. Like I said, I've magpied and I've taken sort of inspiration from how I've been led. So I would like people that I lead to then take inspiration from me,
Mhm.
as they're going through their journey, I guess.
That's quite nice, really, isn't it? If people stay with you and they want to work with you, and then they're learning from you, and then they're implementing the things that you've taught them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I think it probably doesn't get any better than that, really, if you think that someone is emulating you and the way that you do things. So if it's
Yeah.
just even that small of an impact, I think that is incredible impact. And you've got a team, you're clearly doing something right, and you're enjoying it. And I think that's just an incredible legacy. So onto your business, where can we find out more about you online? And I'll put everything in the show notes for anyone that's interested. So where can we find you
Amazing.
online?
You can find me on Instagram. So I am at Shoreway Business, which is SHOREWAY Business. So I'm on Instagram, and then I often share no dancing,
No
but
dancing.
I do share lots of tips on how to create more profitable momentum in your business. So kind of scooping up all the opportunities on the table and like leveraging and sort of maximizing everything within your business, so that you can kind of run it as leanly as possible, as simply as possible, but obviously making it profitable, which is why we're all here, isn't it?
Well, I might check that out. That sounds just what I need. That is amazing. Yeah. So that is on Instagram. That is fantastic. Thank you so much, Laura. It's been an absolute pleasure. I have
Amazing. Thank you
loved
so
that.
much for having me, Amanda. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Thank you for spending time with us today, and special thanks to my lovely guest, Laura Parker. Do you need to increase your visibility, and would you like to make more sales? Would you like to get better at speaking and giving presentations? If the answer is yes, then don't miss out on my free resources. You can find the links in the podcast notes, as well as the links that Laura also mentioned in the podcast. Join me on the next episode for more tips, tricks and insights. You can follow me on Instagram at Coach Amanda Jane, or visit my website amandajane.co.uk. Bye for now.